One of the most requested topics these days to analyze from a body language perspective is Benjamin Netanyahu. And, only the announcement that I'm going to make a body language analysis of Israel's prime minister has all sorts of reactions. We're going to start with this video from Newsmax. Netanyahu appears to be nervous, agitated as he starts to stutter when he's asked if Israel killed Charlie Kirk. Oh, that is interesting. Just in case you haven't watched this video that I made on this channel, by the way, Israel, Netanyahu, and the conspiracy to kill Charlie Kirk. If you already watched it, you might have realized that, the title was basically rage bait, so you could watch my common sense take on what was actually going on. So maybe by this point, I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to rage bait you into clicking on something, but you watch the video and apparently so many of you like it, almost 500,000 views. If you haven't watched it, I suggest that you watch it. That's the conspiracy. But let's see the video itself. The video of Benjamin Netanyahu being asked spontaneously about the death of Charlie Kirk. Was it Israel or what? See?
Before I let you go, I want you to address one thing, and it's just the absurdity of it. Some of the internet rumors that somehow Israel is behind the Charlie Kirk murder, and I don't believe it for 1 second. But I want you to make a statement. It's so absurd.
That's insane. That's insane. Israel also changes the orbit of the moon. Israel pushes the sun. I mean, the whole thing it's not only insane. I think it's so absurd, so stupid, and so ridiculous. You can't believe that people are saying that. They just found the perpetrator. They'll get to the bottom of this. But they go, they have no limits. When you hate Jews, when you hate the Jewish state, you're willing to say anything and promote all these absurd rumors.
One thing, it's worth noting that in most of these interviews, it's not like the questions just pop up spontaneously. Usually, the person that you're going to interview can request, make sure that you ask this question. That is commonplace in every interview of any kind. So I'm pretty sure, I have no doubts, no proof, but no doubts either, that Netanyahu made sure to be asked this question. I'm going to explain you in a second after he completes his answer to this.
And by the way, they're willing to kill us all the time. I mean, that's what they're doing. And over the centuries, when Jews, especially in the Middle Ages, the horrific Middle Ages, the worst things were said about Jews you couldn't possibly believe. We were poisoning the wells. We were drinking the blood of Christian children. You name it. I mean, these things, that continued actually up to the Holocaust. The Nazis said the same thing. We're carrying vermin, we're spreading disease. And people believed it. And every time they believed it, this was a prelude to a greater and greater massacre, culminating with the worst massacre of them all, the Holocaust.
This is the kind of thing that I tell you that it's important to frame not only the body language, because Netanyahu, I have analyzed him a couple times on this channel, and his body language is something that has a baseline. You see this, let's say, triple S tier, the top tier world leaders. We're talking about Donald Trump, we're talking about Vladimir Putin, we're talking about Netanyahu. These guys basically don't have any outliers in when it comes to their body language. They have this body language baseline, and they express themselves pretty much the same way, no matter what. Yeah, he stuttered a bit when answering the question, but yeah, I can also do that on purpose if I want to look like, oh, I've been caught off guard by a question, which I'm pretty sure that Netanyahu knew and set up the question so he could speak about, the Jews. And very important, it's very important distinction is that notice how he himself is doing that, that mix between Israel killing Charlie Kirk, and Israel would mean the Israel government or him, and Jews. Oh, when people hate the Jews, he's making the question about people hating the Jews. No, the question is about the Israel government. I made that distinction in that video that I mentioned. So he wants these questions to be asked so he can tell the story again and, speak on behalf of Israel and the Jews. And is there a bit of propaganda in there? That is a typical political strategy. That is something that is almost expected. You would be lame at this level of being a world leader at this level and you not doing that. Every single world leader at this level would do the same.
Well, since then, we've learned, when people spread these lies about us, prepare yourself for the assault. And, they're trying to delegitimize the state of Israel. Charlie Kirk said to me that he wrote me this detailed letter. You have to fight the slander. These untruths, these vilifications have consequences.
That's the other thing. He mentions a letter that Charlie Kirk wrote to him. That is important because he is trying twice, at least, to make it seem like Charlie Kirk was a personal friend of his, or at least had this differential treatment to his, and his, it's like mixing up a bit, again, Jews, Israel, and the Israel government, which I think that many people try to put everything in the same bag, and that is what sparks problems.
And he was right. But I'll tell you one thing. We're fighting on the battlefield against the terrorists and winning. And he was fighting on the battlefield of ideas. And I think he was winning. He was going to win. That's why they shot him. I hope they don't silence him. I don't think people will give in to these ridiculous, ridiculous lies.
So again, his body language was exactly standard as the usual Netanyahu body language, as in the stutter, caught off guard by the question. Anyone can do that. Anyone can fake stutter. Anyone can fake, I didn't expect that. No, don't believe it. That guy knows his stuff. And then he begins sharing on X. Charlie Kirk was a defender of our common Judeo-Christian civilization. Notice that is part of the plan. Charlie was more than a friend of Israel. He was a great champion of our shared roots and values. May his memory be a blessing. And he also shares. I'm gonna play a video afterwards. Maybe we can skip this one. But this video is important. Benjamin Netanyahu could barely wait 24 hours before exploiting Charlie Kirk's death for pro-Israel propaganda. That is another thing. And that's something that I mentioned on my X account. Okay, maybe Israel did not kill Charlie Kirk. Maybe it's more simple than that, right? It's not like, the Jews. It was the Jews all the time. But I can tell you that Netanyahu is making the most out of it in any way he can.
He wrote me a letter on May 2nd this year. He said, one of my greatest joys as a Christian is advocating for Israel and forming alliances to defend Judeo-Christian civilization. A few weeks before the tragedy yesterday, I called him and I spoke to him and I said, please come to Israel. I invited him to Israel. And sadly, that visit will not take place. But he was a defender of our common Judeo-Christian civilization. He was unbelievably excited to walk in the footsteps of Jesus here. He valued our bond, the bond between America and Israel.
Notice how he makes sure to speak about bonds of America and Israel, two states. That is important. That is the distinction when we talk about Jews, we talk about Israel, and we talk about the Israel government, three different entities.
He did so many things to defend free speech. He had his truth. He stood up for it. But he said, you can come and debate me. He invited that debate. He certainly didn't invite the violence, the horrible violence that tried to silence him. And this is a worldwide problem. The people on the extremes, the Islamists, the radical Islamists, and their union with the ultra progressives.
Notice how he seizes the opportunity to combine the ultra progressives with the Islamists. That is important. Let's put the Islamists in there, so we combine everything as all those are the bad guys. We are the good guys. It's a bit of let's add some spice and part of the message that I want to convey now that I'm asked about this. And I'm pretty sure that here he also suggested, please ask me about Charlie Kirk. Make sure to ask me about Charlie Kirk so he can say all this. He sent me a letter. I called him. I invited him to Israel. That's part of the message that he's trying to convey. Exact same body language, exact same voice tone. Nothing to see here in terms of behavior, but the intention is for everybody to see.
They often speak about human rights. They speak about free speech, but they use violence to try to take down their enemies, whether it's President Trump, who's been almost assassinated twice, or, they try to kill me here too. But they got Charlie Kirk, and it's just heartbreaking.
He also shared this tweet. Charlie Kirk was a true friend of Israel. Rest in peace. Again, he says Israel, and that's why I tell you that it's so important when we're talking about countries. It's like saying, oh, Venezuela did this. You usually imply, depending on the context, which is important, oh, Venezuela, maybe we are great, and our academics are top tier, by the way, in many ways. But also, the Venezuelan government has done a lot of bad things, and that's a narco tyranny, in fact. And if you say the Venezuelan government, you have to be very specific about that. And of course, Nicolas Maduro, a president of the illegitimate president of Venezuela, he seizes every single opportunity to make any win of any Venezuelan abroad on his. That is thanks to us. That's something that every world leader would do, no matter if you are communist, capitalist. That's propaganda. That is simply propaganda, and that's why he tweeted this. Charlie Kirk was a true friend of Israel. Rest in peace. And Charlie, what were his words?
The greatest trip I ever took was to Israel, and the second greatest trip I ever took was to Israel, and I've been there twice. I'm a huge supporter of the Holy Land, of Judea and Samaria, and up against the terrorist organizations, Hezbollah, and the Palestinian Authority. I go to college campuses, and I've spoke at more college campuses than any Christian conservative in the last couple of years. Stanford, Berkeley, Brown, UCLA, University of Texas, University of Michigan, Michigan State University, you name it, I've probably spoken at it. Major universities or states all across the country, from Montana State to Maine. And I am confronted many times by young Christians that believe that Israel is an oppressive apartheid state that basically should not exist in its current form. And so I am here to clearly communicate to you that we have to do a much better job of communicating, of conveying, I should say, the geopolitical significance of the state of Israel. The world's a better place because of the state of Israel. We have all three monotheistic religions represented in the Israeli Knesset and the Israeli Supreme Court.
The video is longer, but the point is that he made sure to talk about the geopolitical importance of Israel, which, it's in fact a thing. That's something that many people want to discuss. The problem that we could have is with the government. And if you say, I don't trust Netanyahu, that doesn't make you an anti-Semite. That doesn't have to work like that. That doesn't work like that. That is asinine. That is combining two completely different things that are related, of course. They have some kind of relation, but you can say Israel as a state, maybe a geopolitical ally of the United States, but the government, all right, maybe the government, we could say that they could do things better, or maybe not do certain things. But from that point to saying that Israel killed Charlie Kirk, that is a bit of a stretch. And I'm going to play just not play the clip. We have seen way too many clips. I'm going to tell you that one of the harshest critics of Israel, comic Dave Smith on X, This has gotten so bad in so many ways that he was calling out Ian Carroll and Candace Owens at the same time, as in maybe you should consider at some point that not everything has to be blamed on the Jews. And again, this guy is no fan of the Jews, Israel, or Netanyahu, none of them. But man, he said that. He loves conspiracies. I love conspiracies. At least if you're going to say that something, I don't know, happened in terms of Israel killing Charlie Kirk, bring something, substantial. It's not like since Charlie Kirk just said these words that he was going to ask questions about Israel, we should be asking questions about Israel. He asked questions about many things, and that, got into trouble with many people who didn't want those questions asked. We're talking about race, talking about Israel, talking about the Civil Rights Act, so many stuff. But yeah, that's something that we should do, ask questions. But if there's a conspiracy, try at least to have something, bring something concrete, and maybe if there's something concrete, we can take a look at it. Watch the video I told you. That video, I elaborate on the concept of what is all these conspiracies that people are talking about online, that Israel was responsible for Charlie Kirk's assassination. But I would like to know what you think about this in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Bottle Language Guy. Much love and bliss.